And we're live. Here we are, March 1st. It's a snowy day outside, and not a weather event I was prepared for today, but it's here we are. We live in the
forecast it today. They said it was coming tomorrow.
They said it was coming tomorrow, yeah, and it snowed all night. And
go figure.
Go figure. Well, I think a lot of people stayed home today because the roads weren't too bad, but
yeah.
Oh well, it is what it is. So, anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone. Just the two of us today, Sano and myself, Dan, and just wanted to kick this off today with, as usual, a market recap, and then we're going to get into a couple other topics. We're going to talk a little bit about the blanket rezoning, and then going to preview a couple properties, our listings that are just hitting the market this weekend. So, quick market updates. Same story. Listings are up, sales are up, and sales are up more. You know, the stat that I'm waiting for here on March 1st is the benchmark price. The projection was that we were going to see a 6.5% increase in benchmark pricing this year. Average pricing is up about 14%, just since January. So I guess remains to be seen what that benchmark price says, but I think we're going to outpace that 6.5% price increase. It looks like we've done it already in the first 2 months. So again, aggressive market. So
yeah, I would agree with you, Daniel. I think the market's going to be on fire for the next, probably year and a half. I give it. You can call it.
I think we've got that much. At least that much time of a really strong market. It's I don't know what, when I talk to builders, they're saying they can't keep up. They're sold out through the next year.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not sure where the relief is going to come from.
Well,
so if there's going to be anything in the next 18 months, it's going to be an unpredictable event. So I'm with you on predicting a fairly steady year and a half.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And maybe that's, do you have any more stats to talk about? Because maybe that's a good segue into
let's
blanket rezoning.
Move on. Yeah.
So blanket rezoning, they're saying this is an initiative, just to give you a perspective. It's an initiative by the federal government. They're throwing money at municipalities to encourage them, mandate them, let's say, to have blanket rezoning in the city, meaning no more single family. So that is on the table for April 28th in Calgary. They've approved it in British Columbia. I believe they've approved it in Edmonton, and they have approved it in Toronto. I was talking to some architects in Toronto last night at a detox event, which was a very interesting event where we
just for any viewers, detox is it's short for design talks. It's a nonprofit. There we go, nonprofit here in Calgary that does some excellent work on facilitating discussions around design. So, anyways, continue.
Yeah, they're a lovely group. We've supported them since they started, and yeah, they talk about how you can incorporate design into communities, into every aspect of life. So it's really great. And we talked about this, and we had a presentation, and the key things are that, we do need to increase affordable housing. That's what this blanket rezoning purports to do, is increase affordable housing. So I would challenge that it actually does that, because we have, to your earlier point, Daniel, a capacity of about 20,000 new builds. And one of the things that I'll be asking Anne-Marie Laurie for is the stats going back. Have we ever produced any more than that? In my understanding, it's never been higher than that. It's been like 18,000, the highest years. So we don't physically have the capacity to provide more housing than that, and I think that capacity is limited by supply of materials, supply of labor, just how many construction companies are there in town that can provide build buildings.
Yeah. Do you happen to know, like, what is the theory behind this that will provide affordable housing? I mean, I understand it will provide more housing. That's
Yes, and then they say, even in their proposition, they state, even though they admit the housing will actually be introduced into the market at a higher price, that the greater supply will reduce. If you have a greater supply, it will have that effect on the market of reducing the price. Now, I guess in typical textbook economy, you look at that and you say, yes, greater supply, lower demand, whatever. The problem, we do have a problem with demand right now. Now, the problem with demand is exacerbated because we have not only a unhinged immigration policy that is just wide open. So we have no issue with immigration. We'll state that up front, but it has to be controlled and regulated properly as it has been in the past. So we also, on top of that, it's exacerbated by provincial immigration from other provinces, because Alberta's the place to be, economically. And interest rates have caused that. We've talked about this before. You have a house in Toronto at $1.5 million. Your interest rate comes up, your mortgage payment is doubled. You're now, faced with, because you're a digital nomad, you can move to Alberta, buy an $800,000 house that's nicer than your $1.5 million bungalow in Toronto, and your mortgage payment, and you can live. Now you can, because your mortgage payment's the same. So we're getting a lot of that in Vancouver, Toronto, etc. So that is creating a high demand, and they're saying blanket rezoning, so eliminating all R1 zones is going to solve that. I disagree. I think you have to have choice. You also have to have certainty, and what it would produce is, you would have no choice. So you'd not be able to live in an R1 community because there would not be any in Calgary. You essentially would have to move out to the country if you wanted to get any kind of single family, living, or any distance between your neighbors. So I'm very concerned about it. And the bigger thing is that it won't be, the development won't be contextual. You will be allowed to build RC. Essentially, RCG will be the blanket zoning across the city. So you'll be allowed to build, 6-plexes, 8-plexes, whatever they'll allow you in any R1 zone. And it's a little alarming because it's just not controlled contextual development. So we talked about that last night. The other thing is that we don't have, there's other ways to increase density. We have to, what we don't have in the building code or in the zoning regulations are quality controls. And that became really clear last night. So you can build anything, let's say you get a building permit. We haven't really caught up to the sort of the sense of having quality controls built into your permitting process. And that's a concern. And it was talked about last night.
When you say quality, what's
well, the quality of build. So what we're doing is there's a race to the bottom, to keep the price down and to build higher density and so on. So unless you have and you have to look at the life cycle cost of these buildings. So if you were to build, let's say, a concrete brick, beautiful 6-plex on the corner on an RCG lot, as opposed, that could last like 100 years, right? Concrete floors, in-floor heating, all that stuff, as opposed to one that's built out of, press board and would last arguably like maybe 30, 40, 50 years at the most. The life cycle cost of that is half, what the other one was. It might have cost you another 20% more for a concrete building, 30%. So that's the things that we have to keep, but the market, if you just drive to the market, you'll build the lower price one because that's all the market will provide you for. So those were the questions, those were the concerns.
Interesting. I would think that the building code addresses the quality aspect for the most part. And then, newer communities, architectural controls address sort of exterior quality issues. So I would say that there are some controls there, but in these older communities, maybe it just doesn't exist.
Yeah. So anyway, that's I don't know. You got anything else to say about that?
I think that I agree that the blanket rezoning, it's a cash grab for the city. It's not. I don't think it's well thought out. I don't disagree that there could be, local appropriate, site specific or street specific rezonings, but a blanket rezoning I think is misguided.
And you're absolutely on point. It should be, there are area, redevelopment plans that can be contextually, developed, where they say these are the, and by the way, there's city land, a plethora of city land, vacant excess land that is sitting vacant, unused, unutilized, and that could be utilized. We've proposed in a paper that we're developing, we're proposing that we have a perpetually affordable housing on. And how you get a perpetual affordable housing, I won't get go down too much of a rabbit hole here. Is that the city provides the land, which is sitting vacant right now. They provide it for free. They lease it for 99 years to a developer. The upside for them is they get a tax base out of it instead of it sitting, and they have to maintain it. So they get tax base out of it. The developer gets to develop it and sell it. The caveat is you have to have a city organization that is in place for the long term. You build long-term housing at 30% less because the land cost is out of the equation. You sell it to the market 30% under the market. So you provide affordable housing with the caveat that when they go to sell it, when the homeowner can live in it as long as they want. When they go to sell it, they sell it at the price of acquisition plus the cost of living increase. So it still should be, in theory, 30% less than the market, or maybe less. And you have perpetual affordable housing. Though you have to sell it back to the organization you bought it from. They resell it. They might have to paint it, whatever. They resell it again without the land cost. And then in 100 years, and when the building is useful life is up, the city takes it back. They rebuild on it again because it stays in the commons. The land stays in the commons. It's the I've spent literally almost 38 years in dealing with like homelessness and affordable housing and so on. It's the only formula that I have seen that actually makes sense and could work. And that is a solution for affordable housing, not blanket rezoning, which will only just cause I'm not sure how you reverse. That's the other question. How do you reverse it? And they've done those studies. They've not studied. They've not said, okay, we've done this in. Somebody's saying they did it in Auckland, but other than that, and Auckland didn't get a great result. It's not like, okay, we've done this in this area. It's worked. We're going to do it in Inglewood, and we're going to try it and see how it works, and that'll be the test bed. We'll try it for 5 years. No, they haven't. They just said the federal government saying we're going to give you $258 million to implement this across the city. It could decimate the character of our city. $258 million is the equivalent to building like 1.5 high-rise 22-story apartments. So that's what we get out of it.
Yeah, I think you touched on something that is probably a little bit lost here. Is the city, along with, the council administration and residents and communities, have built these area redevelopment plans going back decades, involving a lot of expertise and consultants and so on, and throwing that all out the window seems like kind of ludicrous.
Yeah.
So
no, we have to have contextual development, which those area redevelopment plans do. They focus on, you should have density here, you should have park space here, you should have.
I think the city's Main Street initiative that they had rolled out, it was probably close to 10 years ago. I think that was a good one. They focused on 4 areas you know, I mean, some areas like Marda Loop are seeing a bit of a hiccup right now because of the implementation of that plan, the high density going onto the high traffic streets and so on. But, you know, I mean, it's a matter of upgrading infrastructure on a 100-year-old street that just needs to happen. So
yeah, it's one hell of a main street in Marda Loop.
Yeah. Well, when it's all done, it's going to be I think a good site. But to allow something like that development to go just about anywhere in the city is doesn't feel right. So
yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, you got me going on that one.
Well, so speaking of high density development, we have a couple of listings coming on that one just hit the market last night. We've got another one coming on, I think, later today. So in terms of high density development, we've got a site on Center Street and 26th Avenue, and it's got some old zoning, but it's ripe for a new sort of Main Street type zoning. It's going to be 2 blocks from a future LRT station, and is really, I think, a nice spot. You know, we grew up a few blocks away, so
great site. It has the history of being. I think that's where they invented ginger beef. Came from Silver Inn.
Well, it's the Golden Inn. That's the Golden Inn.
Golden Inn. Okay, sorry. So I'm stand to be corrected. Yeah,
the Silver Inn, I think, is downtown. But yeah, it was a great restaurant for a long time, and the building has served its useful life, and now it's ready for something new. So that's coming to market. If anybody out there is watching and wants to learn more, let us know. And the other one is a rare detached home in Inglewood. I have to double check the date. I think it was built in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's part of the condo complex on the river. But it's one of the few, I want to say there's maybe 6 or 8 detached homes that were built in this complex. And so it's a detached home, but you have the benefits of a condo looking after things like your exterior and maintenance and all that stuff outside the home. So great option coming up in the next day or so.
Very cool. Yeah. So Bearland condo.
I don't think that one's a Bearland condo. I think that one's because the rest of the complex is traditional condos, like conventional, and I think these fall within the bounds of that. So I'd have to double check.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's you get detached living with kind of the pros of both detached and condo. So
very cool.
Yeah, it's a neat one, and I think we're going to be hosting open houses there this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So stay tuned for that. And with that, I think that's our time today. And
call it a wrap.
Yeah. So thanks for tuning in, and we're going to sign off. Have a great weekend, everyone.